Alrighty. Hope everybody had a good week. Hope everybody had better sales than us.
Well, they weren't bad.
We had a good Saturday.
Good Saturday. Really
Yeah,
good Saturday.
Really good Saturday.
Decent Sunday, wasn't it?
Decent.
The problem is we take our packages on Saturday. So everything that sells before 11 o'clock goes on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't get to enjoy that throughout Sunday and Monday.
Yeah. Well, our deal is we don't have a lot of time on Monday because that's our sourcing day.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need to have a ton of stuff to ship on Mondays unless we prepackage it, on Sunday, which we try to avoid doing anything or as little as possible eBay on Sunday. So,
Yeah, we're calling it, we're CFAing.
yeah, we're
Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A in the day.
Yeah, trying.
Trying to on Sundays and see what happens. But
I don't want to judge how the week is going based on how we Chick-fil-A'd Sunday because it's been pretty terrible.
no, yeah. So if you are new here, we are Michael and Hope, and we're Lean's Dead.
Are we? Sometimes people need to remind us.
Yeah, well,
Get-
here's your reminder.
Yeah, getting to that age.
You're Michael, and we have been full-time on eBay for, I think we said it was 15 months, really close. April of 2024 is when we started. And about 6 or 8 months ago, we started sharing the journey here on YouTube. And we're just looking to share the things that we're learning because we're learning a lot of costly mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing the painful journey of growing. Thankfully, we've seen pretty steady growth over the past year, almost year and a half.
Except for this week.
So, well, here's one thing that what was it that you were seeing in some forums yesterday about a lot of people complaining
About no sales this week.
So could be that we're approaching the middle of the month, and it's warmer weather, and also Father's Day is coming up.
Yeah, there's that. There's plenty of people that are blaming the algorithm. It is life. It is business. So it is part of the journey. And the more that we can not look at it day by day, we have one sale today. So I guess one sale is better than zero. But
It is.
We'd like to have had a whole lot more. But we are making changes. And so as we make those changes, it could have a negative impact on us. And we have to be prepared for that. So anyway, everybody should be grateful. I don't have a return story for the week.
I'm grateful because the return stories can get long.
That's the only reason why you're.
Well, no,
husband can get too long-winded on returns.
No, the point is the return gets long.
Yeah. Well,
So.
for us, we've moved on from the last one. If you want to
Thankfully.
see that journey, that was a 3-week journey.
It was a long one. Yep.
Our update is that there's no update because we are hearing nothing, and we're not going to hear anything. So we've moved on.
It is interesting because I did go and dig into the, what do they call it? The seller update, the June seller update, the email, and they made a comment about, well, because we've not actually read it and talked about it, I just thought I would look at it for a few minutes. And one of the big changes. Now, I love the fact that they send out they send you an email to an article, and the article is just talking about there'll be some changes. And not any real
Details.
no details about the changes or when the changes will happen or what it will look like. But one of the big changes is that there are going to be changes to the overview page of the Seller Hub.
Great.
And I don't know, I don't typically look at that page very much.
I do every now and then because, every once in a while you're just like, how in the world did I get to that one section? And if you go back to the overview and you start looking, something, may or may not provide a link to where you need to go. But, of all the things that they could be working on, the layout of the overview page is not high on my
Yeah.
list.
Well, apparently in the past, there have been links that were not used very often. So they're eliminating some of that. And one of the other thing said that over the next few months, they will be rolling out changes to the overview page.
There you go.
There you go. So not a lot of detail, but they did talk about managing offers. And so I thought some of this is stuff that you would like to see, but
I thought we were going to have a positive live and not a negative.
well, this could be positive because maybe what we've been asking for is something that they're actually going to do, because they say that with the new managing offers or that page or whatever, that it will be the central monitoring and insights for all of your seller initiated offers or pending best offers. So that leads me to believe that we're going to be able to track.
Well, that'd be huge because, I mean, they're calling it an offer hub right now, and there's nothing there.
Except for the automated offers.
Yeah, either you've clicked on the button to make it automated or not. And so I currently have a negative opinion about the auto part because I can't track if they did something or if they didn't do anything. It's hard enough to track what I did.
Right. So you're kind of in the dark, and even if things aren't good, if you at least know what's going on, then you feel a little bit more in control. So
Yeah, and I was digging through some forums over the last couple of days, and I saw a lady. She was really kind of having to come apart because she was like, "How is somebody offering me $20 for one of my own items?" And I instantly, because I do offers all day, all night, every day, like I know what's what when I'm looking at them. The number of people who will get an offer from us and accept it and realize, oh, I thought you were trying to buy one of my stuff, not you're selling me stuff. So there's that confusion. But this woman was just, she was furious about how can eBay do this and
okay, tell me she was new.
I don't want to go there.
Okay.
And so the bad thing was there were so many people trying to help her solve her problem. And then finally somebody said, ma'am, someone just sent you a $20 offer on your product. You can accept it or reject it.
Decline it. Okay.
So offers are a mystery to most people. And we had a conversation with someone else just a couple of days ago, and we're like, you know what? The bane of my existence is offers, because it's impossible to keep track. And I had a bunch going on. I was really trying to make some sales. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And sometimes it will throw up information about what you've done, going back and forth, and then sometimes there's just nothing. And it was a day where I was getting zero information,
Okay.
and therefore I made some bad counter offers, and then they hit the immediate decline, and I'm like, see, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know. Did I send a lower offer before? Did I send a higher? What did I do? I don't know. You can't track it. So,
Okay.
let's be in prayer that they actually take that offer hub up to the next level.
That would be nice. So, and they're claiming that it's going to be more efficient.
Yeah.
That you can accept or reject from the dashboard using the intuitive review button.
So
there is a review button on your offers thing now, isn't there? Or does it say?
I mean, when you're getting them and you're looking at them on your phone, like you can review the offer, yes.
Okay.
But I mean, all that is an extra button that you have to click to decide if you're going to accept it or not.
Okay.
I mean, in theory, it should give you more information. But also the difference between the phone and the laptop,
Very, very different.
it's not even remotely the same.
I have lots of questions about offers because I'm not the one who's dealing with it. So, yeah, it's still kind of clueless. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm clueless.
I mean,
when it comes
hopefully
to-
the stuff will change, and then,
it'll make it easier for us.
and I'll be happy to show you the positive changes if they actually happen. But right now, it's just a matter of divide and conquer because it's hard to. Now, along those lines, and this is something that you have to be really careful about. And I've been burned once, but I'm still not great at checking. Is that when someone sends you an offer, say you got a $30 offer and they send you a $20 off, you got a $30 product and they send you a $20 offer. If you're just like in a hurry, I'm sourcing, I'm in wide open, what the heck, I'm going to accept it, and you didn't pay attention to the fact that they left you a note. You might have just agreed to something that you didn't realize you agreed to. So I've been burned on, hey, my offer includes free shipping, So, but I had the opposite happen to me last week or a couple days ago, where, just trying to move some product, just get something going. And I had somebody give me a $15 offer on something that was probably a $25 item, and I accepted it to get the ball rolling. And then pretty quickly, right after that, was another offer for $10, similar item, and I'm like, hold on, this appears to be the same person. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I really want to get this ball rolling. I want to get the algorithm heading our direction. I'm going to accept this 10 because I know that we can bundle them together and, we'll make a little money off of shipping. Well, this person did not include any kind of note in his offer. Okay, so if you send me an offer, like if you're going to ask for anything else, now's the time. Because I'm going to make my decision. I accepted the $10 offer based on the fact that I was going to make up some of that money on shipping. So immediately after I accepted the second offer, he was asking for a combined shipping discount. And he worded it in a way, he kind of hem-hawed around about it.
So he did ask for it?
He did ask for
it.
But I was like, the way he worded it, I wanted to clarify. I said, so are you now, after I gave you two really great deals on two different things, are you now asking me for an additional discount? And, I was really just trying to clarify. Like, I wanted to say, yeah, I'm going to combine the shipping. I'm going to put them together and send them to you so I can save some money. But I'm pretty sure that's not what you're asking. I'm thinking you're asking me, can you put them together and can I save some more money? So I don't know how I worded it that would make somebody, furious about it, whatever. But I just said, I can't. I've already given you like a great deal on both of these items. I can't give you an additional one. And if you wanted this discount, you should have asked me when you sent me the offer. Well, long story short, that ended up in not one, but two negative feedbacks.
Right. And we did not communicate. I missed that it was the same buyer for two items because they weren't combined. And I shipped it in two different packages. So we didn't save any money, and we made him mad, and he took the opportunity to write the same negative review two times.
Two times. So,
because they were two items.
Yeah, identical bad review on both items. So, and you know what? There's nothing you can do about it because that's his experience, and eBay's not going to take that down. And I'm not going to say that I just don't care about negative things because that's not true.
But we're human.
That's not true. But, after you get a negative review, go try to look at one of your listings. It's kind of hard to find the negative part. eBay does do a pretty good job.
Oh, okay. Like burying it in there. I thought you meant finding the listings. But
so
there was a mention, though, in the June seller update. There was some mention about making it easier to get negative feedback or get feedback removed or something like that, which is, we all know, a joke.
Yeah, just refer back to our previous live.
Yeah.
Well, that's a waste of time.
Yeah. So anyway, those changes that supposedly are coming are supposedly going to be rolled out over the month of June. So we're almost at the halfway point. I don't know if that has anything to do with slow sales. I think apparently somebody's making sales.
I think they're monkeying around with the website right now, which is probably why things are a little wonky. I'm not
So-
saying that everybody's having bad sales. I'm just saying there's a lot of people complaining about it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll also let's refer back to the summer slowdown video and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It depends on what you sell and how you do it. You're going to get the same response from people saying, "Oh, well, your items are overpriced," or, you're not getting good items. All that to say is that there's a whole lot of factors that go into it, but because we haven't done anything different, I say that
There's always something different.
there's always something.
There's no 2 days the same. So
So,
it's a
but
different day of the month. It's a different day of the week. It's
yeah, I just think that there is, and someone claimed that they got a callback, called one of the agents, and they admitted that there was some algorithm stuff going on and whatever. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But
no.
anyway,
Well, we'll see. How about some upbeat news?
it's not raining.
No. No, I wanted to share an update on. Now, we've shared that the thing that led us to eBay, we were looking for, at the time, we were looking for something that we could build a business together with. And at the same time, we have been talking about downsizing for years. It seems like it's been a decade. We've talked about it a lot. And
We've done it multiple times.
yeah, well, multiple times we've severe, like extreme downsize and moved overseas. And one thing that I will say about that is that it is a very liberating thing to do. However,
After the fact,
well, yeah, I don't know. It's liberating.
it gets more liberating the further down the path you go.
Yeah.
It's painful at some points.
But I am going to say that at this point in our lives, downsizing has probably been the most painful time that we've ever downsized.
Maybe.
Would you say?
Maybe.
It was easier to let a lot of things go. For you, you sold a lot of tools when we left Charlotte, and when we went overseas, you sold a lot of books, but you also kept a lot of books.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the difference between those and now is those we had a destination, we knew where we were going. Now we're
That's true.
we're not like going somewhere. At least we don't think we are.
We're going somewhere.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I'm going all back to this time. Downsizing has been more difficult and I think more painful because, well, as you said, we were not necessarily going to a new earthly destination, but we are also saying goodbye to a lot of things in the past. Because when you're downsizing and you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, you're letting go of things. You have memories with everything. So there's sentimental value and you see value and so much more that I think it makes it more difficult. And
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like letting go of old Michael. And still not sure what new Michael's going to be like, but, also being frustrated with, the fact that someone may not appreciate whatever it is as much as you did. But that's true of everything,
Right.
And unfortunately, that's part of the growing older aspect of
is.
things. You can do a couple different things. You can just ride this thing out till you die, and you can leave it for your kids to fix, or you can try to,
which is what most people do. But we don't want to do that. We also want to free ourselves up to be able to utilize space, and I'm specifically talking about space in our basement. There are a lot of things in our lives that we need to be working on downsizing, but one of the big things is tools and construction equipment from a business that we worked in together, and at some time, points in time. But we also have a lot of supplies that we simply are not going to use, and we're sitting on a lot of money. So we started roughly 6 weeks ago, listing one item a day that comes from we call it from the basement. That's our sourcing location.
Yeah, it's our store.
Yeah. So on top of we do 7 listings a day that we are, hey, Cha-Ching. All right. So we're doing 7 listings a day of items like this, men's clothing, and I'm listing 1 item a day that's coming from our basement inventory. So it's been a lot of construction supplies. And so we have,
Most all of them are brand new in a box.
right, yeah, a ton of it. What I've been focusing on has been brand new in the box. I think we'll get to the point where we start going through lots of tools because, let's be serious.
No.
We
Let's not be serious.
no one person or couple needs to have 40 hammers or 200 screwdrivers or
Now, we did end up with a lot of those because we used to work with a lot of volunteer
Yeah.
groups. So, but
yeah, I'm not
But we
not
don't-
criticizing
we
the
don't do
fact
that
that we have
anymore.
them, but we don't need all that we do have. So, I did a little bit of looking last night, and I wanted to see, and I've talked about this before, and I've said, like, how much money have we made off of what was on the basement? And Michael made the point of saying that we are not making money off of that.
recouping.
I thought you said recovering.
Yeah,
We're
recouping,
recovering.
recovering.
So, since April the 20th is when we started listing 1 item a day, we have listed a total of 54 items in the basement. It's 54 boxes of things. So far, what I have here is that we've only had 14 sales.
Yeah, I think in your head we're selling them, but I think in your head we're selling more than we are. But I think you may be missing some up because like we had 8
Yeah.
entrance jobs by alone.
Exactly. So that's
that
one
was,
sale.
That was one sale.
So it wasn't 1 item, but it was 1 sale. So that
we
is
have seen a
important.
lot of combos. So like we had door the what are they called that you
Door stops.
No, the ones you had a key or lock boxes.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of combos of those that we sent instead of just selling one. So
Right.
a lot of these are combos.
So we have sold 14 sales
Some of them
And
very
combinations.
big money.
for a total of $745.77. Not made, but recovered from our basement. So that included 2 plumbing fixtures, full bath faucet fixtures, 6 lock boxes, and some of those were like a set of 2. 3 light fixtures. So I think those were mostly ceiling light fixtures. 3 sets of smoke alarms. So we had multiples, like dual,
We combined some stuff
yeah,
together.
and 10 sets of doorknobs. So that, I feel like that's a pretty good investment recovery.
Can you hear our
Yeah.
package princess?
Apparently
if you've seen
there's
any
some
of our
critters.
videos, you can see the package princess who is determined to ride with whoever's going to the post office.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite the. We need to video it and make a complete video of the journey. But she likes to join in with the livestock guarding dogs from inside.
Right. Now, she's not going to do anything about what's going on outside, but she's going to give them her
Yeah.
moral support.
From inside, the air conditioned space.
So, okay, just to summarize, I think that our basement project, clean up the basement, is going well.
It's getting easier.
It's feeling good to me
Yeah.
to see progress instead of moving boxes from one place to the next. I'm beginning to see. Well, we took a lot of the inventory and we put it on the steps going up so that we could see that, what to pull from, and those boxes are starting to disappear.
Yeah,
So.
it's going, I noticed it this morning. It's getting clearer and clearer coming up to that, which is, good. It's opening up space on shelves that, either we'd like to eliminate some shelves or move some shelves. And so, all of that to say.
Well, part of the deal too is once we get this inventory cleared out, then we can begin to really work on making our current eBay store inventory more ergonomic
Yeah.
for us.
And we've got a system that we will have a conversation about a lot later that is really good if you're younger, and it is the most cost effective, but there are negatives to it. And I'm just on the long list of things that are falling apart on me. I got a shoulder that's like just giving out, and so these things don't get lighter.
No.
So, and there is the drama of how we were putting stuff in, and now being able to. I mean, we have a system on finding them, but then there's the, why is this not where it's supposed to be kind of deal,
Yeah.
and so we will be moving to a different system for multiple reasons. But
this was the easiest and the least amount of investment
yeah,
to get
I mean,
it
it's
started.
the most affordable, and what we have into it is stuff we'll always use. So I just don't want to continue down this route. But the only way we can convert to a different one is we need space, and so that's the journey we're on. And
And it's a very long one.
it is part of it. I mean, if anybody's ever downsized, it's not a quick and easy journey. And
Yeah.
kind of going back to what you said before, if you're someone who's just getting started out and you're going around and you're grabbing stuff, off shelves and stuff that you've never used, sounds great. You think you're making a lot of money, but you have to remember that you paid for that item, so you probably didn't thrift it.
Probably didn't thrift it, but at the same time, I think that when we spend money on something and it's taking up space, it's an item that we're having to dust or clean or care for. And if it's not serving us, then
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just that don't get all fired up and think that's something that you should go source now,
no.
because that was the temptation. That was what we initially thought, and then I opened my eyes and thought about it for a second and was like, oh, that's not going to work because you're not going to buy that stuff.
So you're talking about the tools and the construction
Doorknobs
supplies.
that I got for a great deal back then. Well, I didn't buy them to resell them. I bought them
No,
because
you bought
of
them
a
to
project.
use. Yeah.
So even at those prices that I bought them and selling them, all we're doing is recouping our money. So therefore, it's not a good sourcing item. We considered how could you source some of those things, and we're just not set up for that. We don't have the room. We don't have the equipment necessary to deal with that kind of stuff, or the vehicles that would handle that stuff. So we just can't do it.
Right, and that does make men's clothing a better item for us to sell because it's light. Shipping in poly mailers is so much more simple than boxing up some of the awkwardly shaped construction supplies that we've had.
Yeah.
We're doing it. We are managing that, and that's getting to be less scary or intimidating for me.
Yeah,
So-
and since we're doing this basically out of a one bedroom, one bath space, then we can do that. But other things we're just not going to be set up for that.
No.
And anytime I start to venture my brain down an avenue that I think, oh, well, look at here, and then I'm like, oh, well, A, we know nothing about those things, and I don't want to add to the stress we already got going on. But B, we're just not set up for it. We don't have the right stuff to pack, the right stuff to ship. Speaking of which, let me give you a little warning. If you do have an eBay store, you have about 2 weeks to spend your coupon, so don't forget about that.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got to talk about getting a few shipping things from eBay to cover some stuff we don't normally ship.
Right.
So anyway, so all that to say is that kind of leaning towards my topic for today is just competitor analysis related. Is that
Checking out the competition.
yeah, because we it's easy to kind of consider, hey, I'm going to start selling spoons or whatever else. That's one thing. But does anybody really spend any time checking out their competitor? And for us, I thought we were kind of doing that because we watched YouTube videos related to men's clothing, but guess what?
Really, the people that we watch are not our direct
They're
competitors.
not selling old man clothes.
Nope.
So, I mean, you might find somebody who's got that shirt back there, but probably not, because that's probably a brand that most of them would say, don't pick
pick it
this
up.
up. But, us old men, we appreciated that brand. And so we knew it was a good quality brand. And right now you can get it at a great deal. So, like, why would I pay for some other something that I don't even know anything about, especially if it, is poorly made. So, that being said, we realized that, we weren't really looking at our competitors. Someone who might just, they're doing jeans. Well, we sell jeans, but if you looked at some of the jeans we sell, they're an older man.
Yeah, they're not exciting. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not trendy.
Yeah. So in fact, now if they're all ripped up, like they're supposed to be that way, distressed, we don't pick them up anymore. So that's because we're not trying to compete with them, and so and if you start to really look at somebody that is doing something like you need to start looking at, like, what are their pricing strategies, and how can you I can't say the word, but
Differentiate.
there we go, from them. And by tracking other people's activities, like for me, the biggest one would probably be pricing. And when you're looking at other people's pricings, I don't really look at their customer feedback. I don't really look and see, what kind of promotions they do or whatever. But it does help me make better decisions and try to, I don't want to be on a race to the bottom, which is what I think people typically look at, is that they look at, this one's this, so I'm going to price it $1 cheaper. And then the next person comes in and they price it $1 cheaper. Next thing you know, you're selling stuff for $1. And that you should just get off eBay.
And get on Whatnot.
Yeah.
But if you're seeing those low prices, but these are sellers that have bad seller reviews, buyer reviews, if they're not good stores and they're not your direct competition, then you probably shouldn't be looking at them.
Yeah, and that's a whole other thing that needs to be worked on when you're doing sell-through rate stuff, which is what most people preach and what most people use when they're in the store. But I don't think you're really paying attention, because it's not really your competitor, because it's not the same item most of the time.
A lot of times, yeah.
And so, anyway, So
if we're looking at the competition, then
you got to find somebody selling the same exact same stuff.
exact same things. Okay.
Yeah, because just because someone, let's just say the Chap shirt behind us, just because someone else is selling a Chap shirt does not mean that they're your competition. Once you look at their store, you're like, oh, well, that just happens to be their husband's shirt that they're trying to get rid of. And they're dumping it for $5.
And they actually normally sell baby clothes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got to find somebody that's like, and that requires some digging, and some searching, pretending like you're a customer looking for that, and then going to their store and saying, they got a lot more stuff that's very similar to ours, so they may be closer to our competition than we are. So, when you find those people, then you want to kind of look at their, pricing strategies. So, the easiest thing is, like, what are they listing it for? And this can be confusing unless you actually go to the actual listing. So if you look at some of the comps and they're giving all this, you may not notice that
they don't show
the original listing
price until you go to the original listing.
Yeah. And so, you need to pay attention to that, because, maybe they started off at, $24.95, but now it's, $19.95, but it's not because they started there. It's because they're running a sale and they're trying to dump it for whatever reason. And so that's the other thing you need to look at, is what kind of discounts
They're offering.
they're offering. Do they all? And you can't just check once. You have to keep checking because maybe they just did it for Memorial Day weekend, like we did, and got nothing out of it. But maybe that's just the only time they do it. Or what kind of promotions are they doing? And there's what I do on a regular basis. So I don't know that I would call this extra. This is like you got to be. I'd have to be bored to really do this. But are they making price adjustments? Because that's what I do every day. Is I'm going through bare minimum 15.
Changing the price on the listing, not just marking down.
It's everything, So I'm going through. I'm looking at the title. I'm looking at the pricing. I'm recomparing it. I'm going to a lot of trouble to recompare it because I got to compare against the exact same item. If I'm looking up a chap shirt, I don't care what someone's selling a polo shirt for. I do understand to a certain extent why we're getting some of that data is because maybe eBay's trying to show you, hey, like these are other shirts, different brands, similar to yours, and this is what they're selling for.
Yeah, one of the things that I find frustrating with, especially anything that's Ralph Lauren, Ralph Lauren, Polo, is
Polo
that
by Ralph Lauren.
Chaps,
Ralph
if
Lauren.
if you try to look up Ralph Lauren, it's going to show you all of
All
those
the
different
things.
versions, and like it's very difficult to try to get just show me just Ralph Lauren, not Polo by Ralph Lauren, Ralph Lauren, Ralph Lauren.
And that is something that I'm trying to learn more about because there are things that you can do when you search. So, for instance, to take stuff out or to eliminate or to specify. And so, an example would be like what I do often because I rarely sell lots of clothes, LOT, lot. We sell lots of clothes, but I rarely sell a lot of clothes. See, that didn't even work either. But if you had a lot of 3,
You don't sell clothes in lots.
there you go. That's better. So if I had 3 of these shirts right here, well, that doesn't help me because I'm selling 1, and so I need all the lots to be
Eliminated.
because that skews the number big time. And if you haven't paid attention, if you just look at a sell-through rate and you just see this, wow, look at that number, and you didn't realize somebody just sold 100 of those for $1,000, well, that just jacks up the numbers altogether. So an easy way to do that is when you go in, you just hit minus lot, but there needs to be no space between the minus sign and the word lot.
Okay.
And then it'll remove most
Maybe.
yeah, because people will word it differently. Like instead of saying lot, they may say 3 pairs or something like that. But anyway, it helps if you do those things. So there's ways to, change, but I don't think most people are doing that. They're just quickly throwing something in there, and whatever eBay's giving them is the gospel, and they go with it, and that's why some of your pricing might be different than my pricing.
And I don't think, also when you search according to condition, it's not eliminating, like if you're saying pre-owned, it's not eliminating new. And so that affects the prices.
I don't know what we accomplished with this whole deal of labeling something excellent, good, fair, because I don't know that there's a ton of people that went to the trouble, that when they rolled it out, it
was a big deal.
They just
we thought
generically everybody got put in the good category. And from my experience, people just are staying in the good.
Stayed there.
They're not going to the trouble.
Yeah.
And so when I'm digging and I say, okay, this is an excellent shirt. So I'm looking at other excellence and I'm like, how's there only a couple excellents? And then I go and unclick excellent, go to good. I'm like, oh, there's 1,000 of them. And they're all actually are excellent. Just someone's not gone to the trouble of making it. So,
Yeah.
and the other part of competitors' pricing, looking at it, is that you want to make sure that you're neither too high nor too low. Because if you're too low and somebody's like, why are you selling that shirt for $5?
Uh-huh.
There's something that you didn't include in the pictures. You didn't say something. There's got to be a reason. Why in the world would you sell that for $5 when everybody else is selling it for 25? So you don't want to be the race to the bottom bit. Some people will grab it because there's plenty of people that are sending me $5 offers.
Right.
So I don't know why aren't they going to your $5 shirt and they're coming to mine because they're assuming there's something wrong with that $5 shirt, and so they want the guy that thinks his shirt is worth $25.
Okay.
And more likely, there's going to be something there that is a positive thing. So, tracking how other people do discounts or promotions will make you say, I've never done that before. Maybe I should try it.
You mean the type of sales that people do?
Yeah. Because, we used to do sales. Like we would put something on, everything in the store was on sale for, say, 10% off. Everything was 10% off. And we would do it for a month. Now, I'm not saying that didn't get us sales. But, and this goes back to the proper video that I keep promising that I've never done. But the way I do it now, people have
Those feet to the fire.
Yeah. People have a shorter period of time, so like there's a sense of urgency. Because if you tell somebody, hey, you've got a week to think about this, then basically you've told them they're never going to think about it ever again.
We are all procrastinators at heart. And if we have time, we're going to take the time.
Or if they think, well, I've only got 3 days to make this decision, then that's a different story. So, but how are other people doing it? And can you see
How are they creating urgency?
by looking at their
Or
listing?
are they creating urgency? Another thing that I've wondered about, and we had this discussion yesterday, was if we don't analyze our competition and see how they are promoting, I think you may still have that. Like, maybe you're still going to talk about that.
Which
but
one?
What type of promotions they're doing, like as far as not just sales, but are they doing general promotion? Are they doing off-site promotion?
Or off-site, or
Like, I wonder, because we've tried a little bit of everything, and we probably do more promotions than a lot of people do, but we've never analyzed really what our competition, how they're promoting. Because we may be over-promoting compared to what our competition is doing. I mean, obviously, if we're getting sales, that's
but
paying for itself. But
I don't know how to make that not complicated because, someone who has 10,000 items, well, they're going to sell more than us at 2,400. And so we don't want 10,000 items. They can advertise less because they've got more things out there for people to buy. So I don't know how to uncomplicate that thought. But what I don't want to do is contribute to the race to the bottom.
right,
And sometimes you just kind of have to go, nope, I'm not selling it for that. And you have to ask yourself, your time is worth something. So if this was a really good find, and it's in great condition, and it's worth something,
then be willing to sit on it for a
then
while.
you might need to. So it just depends on that. Other things to check when it comes to competitors, or like what are their popular items, and I'm trying to figure out how you could see. I mean, I know that there's ways to see what a competitor sold, but
You
finding
can see how many they've sold, but I don't know that you can see what they've sold.
Yeah, and so that's digging into that in the future will be interesting to see. Do they sell? It doesn't make any difference if they sold one pair of. We had those crazy polo jeans with all the pockets on them. We found them once, and we'll probably never find them again. And so, if someone is looking at that as far as comparing us, like that's not a good thing to look at. I want to see, are you selling,
What are you consistently
Weekly.
selling, not the anomalies?
Yeah. Weekly, are you selling, you know, a Tommy Bahama? Because we're not. So don't look at our store for that. But, you know, but if you're looking at your competitor and you're like, oh, they're selling it all the time, you know, maybe there's something you need to look at, you know. Looking at their sales volume, you can, like you said, you can see
numbers
that way. And try to see what kind of trending categories they have compared to yours. But this is also where, you know, you're trying to set yourself apart from them. And so if you're like, they sell this a lot, but these 3 items that we sell a lot of, they don't
carry them.
They don't even carry them because that's not cool now. So those are things to, you know, to look at and compare. And then, you know, we've kind of done this with our own stuff, but, you know, when you start looking at your competitors' reviews and ratings, with a grain of salt. But, you know, is this person, you know, always 99.9%? And you have to do the math because it's the size of the store and all that kind of stuff that comes into play. Or, you know, has this person, is his, you know, rating really starting to drop? Look at the customer feedback. You know, like people that have other kind of businesses where they look at other people's, I forget the sites, like if you have different kinds of stores, and Google has all these things where you can see some feedback from
Like Yelp and
stuff like that.
Okay.
But for us, you know, it's just, you know, the part that I say people don't hardly look at is, you know, your actual feedback. But if you look at their feedback, so like if someone were to come and look at ours, they're going to see super fast shipping, as described, packaged well, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So look at what people are saying, because if people are making comments like you see repeatedly that fast shipping, and you have your store set on 2-day shipping because that's convenient, then maybe you're not consider.
You're not being competitive.
Yeah.
You know, and for us, we were already going every day anyway, so you know, it wasn't hard for us to make that choice. Doesn't mean that's what you're supposed to do, but for us, we were going every day regardless, so we might as well just claim it.
I do think in the end, whatever business practices you have, they need to serve you. So if it's making your life miserable to, you know, do something in particular, like, you know, if it's stressing you out to take better photos, then, you know, be willing to do the best you can, you know, not get stressed out about, you know, not having the right lights or.
Yeah, you might have to make up for it some other way. So, you know, just looking at comments and return rates.
Can you see someone else's return?
I tried to look that up and I got distracted, and so I
think I have a difficult enough time finding ours.
I know where ours is. You know, I do. I can see where that. Well, I know where return rates are, but I also see every time we get a comment, and I will check it pretty regularly to see if there's any kind of fire we need to put out. But usually, it's something I can't do anything about. So, but you know, your reputation over time. Now, this was even true back in construction, because I would do stuff that, you know, initially people were like, why are you doing that? Nobody cares. But it took time. And then later, they just knew. I would go to this job site, and this was always terrible. But when I got to his job site, so those things don't pay off until later. But when they start to pay off, you know, then you're outbeating your competition. So the other part is like, you know, just their marketing and promotion tactics. You know, are they using promoted listings or not? Are they using offsite? Which I'm not sure how I would tell if someone else was using offsite or not.
I don't know.
We're probably going to make a hard decision fairly quickly about that because we probably have spent, let's just say, roughly $300 in expenses to make $450 worth of sales, but that didn't mean that was profit.
No.
And they keep telling you, oh, well, it just takes time, blah, blah, blah. Well, we are too small of a store. We don't have that kind of time. So.
Well, the other thing that really does, I don't know, scare is not the right word, but concerns me is all of this conversation that we're hearing. And I don't know who is correct in all this, but the concept of if you're doing offsite promotion and somebody clicks on your item and they don't buy it, but they buy something else, and you could I just don't understand.
They don't even have to buy from you.
If they buy from someone else, and you can you get charged for it.
If they click on it, if it's offsite and they click on it, then you're going to pay for the click.
Okay.
But if they click on it and they don't buy from you, and say they leave eBay forever, doesn't make a difference. Someone else comes behind them 20 days later and buys that item, you still get charged as if they were the ones that clicked on it 25 days earlier.
See, that's
that is all part of the deal. So
Yeah.
You got to factor all that in. And then this is something we haven't been able to talk about it too much, but just like social media presence. I can see positives and negatives, and we need to figure out how to how to do the positives because we've secured, we just don't use them. But if we were going to promote our stuff by just sharing it, which seems to be a very simple, click a button type deal. And I don't think there's any charge related to that if you were to, say, share it on your Facebook page and somebody bought it. But we also don't want a ton of people that are just friends coming to, hey, let's go check this out.
Check out what they're,
And all that does is they're not interested in buying. So then eBay looks at that in the
it makes our conversion rate look really low.
Yeah. And, we've talked.
I did have the clerk at the post office yesterday ask me, well, what do you sell? And I said, men's clothes. And she's like, oh, something I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
But I'd rather she say I'm not interested now than have her go to the store and go, oh, it's all men's clothes.
Yeah,
and I'm not
she's
interested.
Currently single, so.
No.
Is that the one?
No.
That was a different one. Okay. So, and then, email stuff, the whole newsletter thing, are they sending out a newsletter? So now, I didn't do this on purpose, but initially when I was looking at other people's stores, I followed them just because I wanted to remember how to get back to them.
And then you started getting their emails?
And then they started sending me, their emails. So I was like,
Duly noted.
That's, if you actually find a legit competitor, that's not just someone, if you're selling men's clothes and they're selling boho chic women's stuff, that's not going to help you.
It's not your competition.
You might learn something from them, but that's not your competition. Yeah. So, anyway, those are things for sure to be checking out and seeing what other people are doing. And then, their listing quality, and, have they optimized their listings? So we've done this a couple times. We've compared, like a specific, say, for instance, one like that, you would look and see, what do their photos look like? What all are they saying about the item?
Blazers have been a thing that we have learned a lot from by checking out competition. Because I was completely clueless when we started. So I've learned a ton from looking at other people's listings and just doing a lot of research.
Which, that's a reminder that if you're going to go down that road, you need to consider, do you want to learn about that? And then, for someone who just picks up a blazer every 6 months.
I don't want to sell golf clubs because I don't play golf and I'm not interested in golf. But we do have some golf clubs downstairs.
Yeah, well, I'll take care of that. But you would think I had high hopes at this age I'd be able to disc go play golf, So joke's on me. But you want to look at just their listings in general and see are they answering all the questions? Like check and see what people put into the buyer's notes. We've occasionally picked up some stuff and go, yeah, we probably need to warn people about this or that. We have something that we include now that we created for our own buyer's notes when it comes to blazers because we don't know if they've been altered or not. And every blazer is, different. And so you have to be careful on whether or not it truly is a short or regular or a long, So there's a lot. This depends on the manufacturer. So anyway, those kind of things. But titles, keywords, we've kind of shied away from some of the stuff that we used a lot in the beginning, like classic core. I would use the word classic. I would use the word preppy. By the way, I'm grandpa core, so think about that. I would use the word preppy. I'm not sure who else would use the word preppy, but
No, but well, I will say if someone else was shopping for their father, a millennial, she might use the word grandpa core to find things. But I think that our typical avatar for a buyer is not going to be someone who is concerned with what's trending in keywords or in style.
No, because we've shared this before. If someone like me is going on eBay and looking for a pair of Carhartts,
You're not using cores.
You're not grandpa core or gorp core or anything. You don't even know what a gorp is. So,
But you will use words like vacation,
durable,
weekend, summer,
zipper pocket,
office,
something
church.
like that.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. So, compare and contrast your video quality versus their quality, and that kind of stuff. All that will, add up if you make those adjustments. We've started removing the background on at least the first picture, and it looks a whole lot better. But you have to be careful because sometimes it will mess up the picture, and so it's not always a great thing to remove the background. But
Yeah.
So, and it builds buyer trust. If your photos are high quality, if you got a good title, you've answered all the questions and descriptions. That's the difference between somebody who threw a wrinkled shirt on the ground, unironed, and just took a terrible photo in the dark, and pretty sure ours would sell over theirs, even if it cost a little bit more. So, this is all about, increasing clicks and conversions. So by doing that, to me, this would be like, I don't know anybody that's really got this kind of time on their hand. So one of them is just competitors' sales velocity and inventory turnover. And that requires me to track a lot of stuff that somebody else is doing that I ain't got time for. So I'm not even going to.
I don't even know what that means.
It just means that you're looking to see that, which means you have to stay on top of it. But you're like, oh yeah, they just listed a new shirt. Oh, it's gone. Oh, they listed another pair of pants. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, I don't have that time.
Yeah, I mean, if you had time and you were bored, that's something that we can talk about later. But anyway, so just competitor analysis. Why does this give you a competitive edge? So one is informed pricing, and you want to know what's too high and what's too low. And you might be. I've seen this on some of our stuff where we're like, what, this is. I'm not dumping these things, and so we might end up with 3, 4, 5 of these. All of a sudden now, because we held our ground at, I'm just going to say $20. Other people now are going, oh, well, I'm going to keep my price
At 20.
at 20. Versus 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. So, you know, the whole looking at see just exploiting what somebody else may or may not be including in their store. So I do think because we're a little more grandpa core, you know, we probably get the stuff that other people don't get and we sell it, you know. I would love to know how we could figure this out because we got some random email one time saying we were ranked in the top 5% of men's clothing or whatever,
I don't know.
whatever that means. But like, is it because you know, that group is coming and looking for stuff that we, praise the Lord, we're
Happen to
offering
have,
and we can get, you know. So, you know, you want to work on just having superior customer service. I mean, this is a customer service business, and if you're not into customer service, this is probably not something you should get into. And
So I shouldn't roll my eyes when somebody asks what size something is.
nope, nope. That's the bad part about this. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we've ventured off as a, you know, at least a nation. I don't know if this is true internationally, but you know, we do need to educate people to do a little homework on their own. So, but graciously. So that's where I have to take the deep breath and say a prayer before answering something. Because
I think that is, you know, in our little cut and paste document that we just pull things from constantly, there needs to be that paragraph about go to your closet and pull out your favorite pair of pants and measure the pants that fit you the way you want them to.
Yeah, we just recently had somebody reach out and they gave me a lowball offer because they said, because I'm willing to take a gamble, but I don't even know if these are going to work. I'm like, well, A, I'm not going to give them to you cheaper.
Because you don't know what size you are.
Because you don't know. But B, why waste your time and effort? Go find something in your closet that works. And if you want, send me a picture and I'll tell you, you know, I'll pull it out and double check some measurements on there. Or you can look at the dimensions that we took pictures of.
Right.
But why would you waste your time and effort? But see, they live in this Amazon world where you just buy 5 and they don't work, you send them back.
Yeah.
So.
And they don't go back to the seller, so.
Yeah. And then there's, you know, strategic marketing, which we're not there yet, but I think we've played around with some things and we're still, we're trying to figure that part out right now because I do think that we're kind of missing the boat by not putting stuff on, you know, Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be in our future.
Well, in our case, it's been all about learning one platform. And learn everything you can learn, if that's even possible with eBay. But learn as much as you can about one platform at a time.
Yeah.
And not stress yourself. Because if we were trying to put videos and everything and put everything on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, I think that we would have burned out.
Yeah, but I think we can do that now, but I don't think we can still, you know, the temptation is to try some other platforms that sell clothes, and I don't think we still have the bandwidth to, because it's a different animal.
It is.
You know, it's like having a different kind of store, physical store. So we struggle enough with, you know, the eBay store. So probably not going to venture down that road. But those are just a few things, you know. We're going to dig into some of the stuff a little more depth, and Hope's got a link that she's going to start including in all our descriptions so that you can find, you know, some of this stuff as we dig and get information. We'll be posting more stuff there, so you want to tell people about that?
We have, like I said, we have a lot of cut and paste documents that we use in our business, sizing charts and things like that. And I would like to be able to start to make some of those things available to other people. So we're playing around with a new site that allows us to make a landing page and to make other things available. So it's called a Stand Store, and I will put a link to it in the description for this video. But I also will just put, one of the things that I've just recently done is created a document that is just 50 profitable niches for eBay or for resellers for 2025. It was last week. We were talking about summer slowdown, and one of the things that you can do is kind of take advantage of the time to like maybe experiment with something that's outside of what you typically list. And so this would be a good document for that, to just take a look at it and see if there's anything on this list of items that are selling well on eBay, to see if there's something that you might want to just experiment with in your own store, or if you're just considering starting an eBay store, take a look at some of the items that are on the list. So anyway,
Yeah, so if you're just considering it, one thing you might want to do is look at some of the, higher,
more profitable.
Categories, and then see how you can you actually source that.
Right.
Because,
is it something you're interested in? Is it something you can source? Is it something you can store easily?
if someone lives, in a pretty big city, they can source one thing compared to those of us out here in the country, which we would never be able to find. So, when you're looking at the list, what you want to do is you want to go and just explore what is easily sourceable for you. And it could be that you're even sourcing it online, and that's some stuff that we'll talk about later. But,
So anyway, I just stuck in the comments, a link to that that document that has the 50 niches to consider. But just be on the lookout in the future. We'll
just keep adding to that.
Yeah, we'll keep adding some things to that little. This is just going to go to a landing page for that one document, but we're going to make other documents and resources available through that Stand Store link.
Yeah,
So,
that link. If you've very experienced this with looking at videos, I mean, there's ways that you can get lost in the links that people provide. I'm not a big fan of certain social media because trying to find this link is can just get messy. But the beauty about this is that just this one link takes you to
all the resources.
And it's very simple, very easy to find. I like it a lot. So just look for that area to grow when we start to provide opportunities there.
True. And if anybody wants to just chat, we have some questions, want to chat, you can reach us through that Stand Store link as well.
Yeah, you can book a time.
Yep.
We're just doing a little 30-minute, if you got questions kind of deal. So limiting those to times we're not outsourcing or whatever else. But you can check that out and look and see. So look forward to hearing and seeing. And we've got, I think I've got maybe 2 more weeks of some topics that I had pre-planned, and I just realized that I failed to write down what next week's topic is going to be about. But then, we're just really open to some other things. I have an idea, and so unless I hear from other people about, hey, I really like to see a video on this or that, I may explore that idea for kind of a next bundle of videos. But until then, sun is still out, and I think we're about to have another week full of rain kind of deal.
Gracious.
So,
Lovely.
Yep. So we need to enjoy it while we can, and Miss Hope has someone that she's working with that's getting their stuff up and running, and so she's about to jump off on this and jump on with them. So
For a live show.
Yep. So if you're interested in exploring these opportunities, and especially if you're someone who has gone through a really hard time and you're older in age, and if you want a shoulder to cry on, book one list. So we can compare notes. I had a conversation with a guy just yesterday, I think it was, and he was calling me, and he's not as old as we are, but he's running into a scenario where he's aging out and his employees are aging out, and so a lot of dynamics goes into to getting old. So anyway,
We need a business that will grow with us.
that's lean. That we can lift the boxes. Anyway, thank
We-
y'all. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us, and we look forward to seeing y'all next week. See
Catch you
ya.
then.
Where was Swamp Pickle? Thank you very much.